Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. I'm so sorry it's this late. Yeah, so I guess we had some time differences or something happened and Andrew's not here. So, I mean, I was talking to you guys in the chat and I was saying I'm going to have to cancel the show and you guys are like, go live and do it without him. So I'm here. We can chat a little bit about what anime is about, but I wanted to really I had a good show planned with Andrew. I wanted to talk to him about his favorite animes and all the stuff. So we'll have to do it another time. But I wanted to highlight Torgo's message here saying OG Legend of Galactic Heroes on the way. Let's fucking go. That is cool. That's awesome. I remember watching like uh what's it called? Battleship Yamato like years ago. So OG Legend of the Galactic Heroes is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool anime. Um, but yeah, so I mean, you guys know I love anime as you can tell on the my background. But I guess let we can all chill together and chat about some of our favorite animes. Um, Yamato was boss also. Yeah, I went through. I mean, like I my kind of uh introduction, I should say, to space operas was like space opera anime was through Galaxy Express 999. So that was my original one, and then that universe that he created leads into Captain Harlock, and then Captain Harlock went into Queen Emeraldis, and it's like this it's really really cool. And then through that, I was led to Battleship Yamato and um, what's it called? The one with the chick with the blue hair. I forget. I always forget. Star. I chat. Help me out. You guys know what I'm talking about. Star Outlaws. No, Star. Oh my god, what was it? Star Blazers? Star Blazers, I think. This is that's what it's called. Um with the elf chick that looks like she's got the blue hair. And then it's a really really good anime. Outlaw Star is another one. So I'm not talking about Outlaw Star. I went to that one after. But that one's with the red hair guy. Yeah, that one's later. Um, uh, oh, I know. Oh, Harlock, I withdraw my statement. I don't know what your statement was, but yes, Star Blazers is Battleship Yamato. It's a different one. There's two different ones. Um, they lead into each other. But yeah, anyways, it was really cool. And then of course, like later on, I watched Outlaw Star, and Outlaw Star is awesome. So I watched a lot of some. I guess some of them may be blending in together. Maybe that's why I'm like mistaking Battleship Yamato with Outlaw Star. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, R&B has a Battleship Yamato replica. That's cool. I would love that. I would love that. Over on X, Cybertonic says 80s and 90s anime are goated. Absolutely. Those are my favorite. I love I just love old school anime. Um, I can start like I mean it it's like how far back do we want to go when it comes to anime? Well, with my life, my very first anime that I watched was this anime, and I watched this, and my dad took me to the theaters in Iran. um and I watched this movie that I'm still obsessed with. It's called Unico, and it was about this little unicorn. So I obviously became obsessed with anime after that, because little girls and unicorns and princess stories. That was a thing. Here's the picture of little Unico. which is so cute. It's such a cute comic book. It's such a cute story. Um, it's about this little unicorn that makes friends wherever he goes, but he angered the gods, like in the Greek gods were angered by him because he was just so cute and loving that they got jealous of him and banned him from the heavens. And so this like uh, the spirit, like this one spirit, I think it was the spirit of the wind or something, would just keep taking him to like different places so that he would be alone and he'd have to start all over, and everywhere he would go he would have to make new friends. And so in that first movie, they showed where he went the first time, and he went to this island where he made friends with this little rock creature. And then like later on, and because like he got caught rescuing he like transforms into a real unicorn and he rescues this rock creature and helps him out. He gets found out, so the spirit has to come and take him away. And she takes him away again and drops him off in this place with this chick that's there. And then he helps her and this like grandma. It's like this whole thing. It's such a good story. And I like to this day, I feel like it would stand the test of time. Like this is definitely like one of those stories that you can watch today with your kids and just have a wholesome time and with many good lessons. And then there's Unicode 2, which I was like actually terrified about when I watched when I was a little girl. I hated the villain in that story. And it was just so good. So I definitely recommend that. GTO is amazing. What is GTO? You guys are gonna have to not abbreviate things because I have no idea what that is. Um, so yeah, that was like my original start to anime, and then that like when I was like really young, and then it's still in Iran. Because the Western shows were mostly banned in Iran, we had our own anime style of stuff that was mostly released in Europe or Turkey or other places that would get dubbed and released to us. And a lot of that was the old school Miyazaki classic theater stuff. So we had stuff that was old school Ghibli, like the Legend of not Legend of Conan, what was it called? Like Future Boy Conan. And I watched these animes called Pareen, for example, or my one of my favorites of all time is called Mayonette. Let me see if I can Mayonette. I think it was called Annette of the Swiss Alps or something like that. Mayonette. Let me see if I can bring it up. Yeah, this is it. This was such a cool little anime, and it's not even little, it's a very long anime. The Story of the Alps by Annette. So this was the story of this girl. It was the story of this girl and her little brother, and they live in the Swiss Alps, and this guy's her best friend. Here's a better picture. This guy's a best friend. Um, let me zoom in, and I'll tell you guys like kind of like the brief story of what this is about. So then this guy, they're best friends. Her mom passes away, so she becomes like kind of like the mother figure in her brother's life. He's like helping out with the daily life in the Swiss Alps because they're like farm people or whatever. And then he has an accident because she like he does something bad, and he's like this dude Lucien starts teasing the little brother, and somehow basically the little brother falls down a cliff. And like at first you think he's dead, but thankfully he's not. So he has a very broken leg, and he basically will never be able to walk again. And back then they didn't have any medical like situations. So the story is basically revolves around how their friendship gets broken based on the fact that he was the catalyst for her brother losing his leg and like not being able to walk ever again. And so she becomes this bitter chick to him and she like tortures him and all he wants to do is like try and like find a way to forgiveness. And they talk about and it's so interesting because in the story, like her mom is a Christian woman and or sorry, her grandma, because her mom's dead. Her grandma's a Christian woman and she's living with them. So she tells her about forgiveness and how Christ wants you to forgive people and forgiveness is for yourself or in your own heart because your own heart becomes bitter and complex when you don't forgive people. And so that's like her struggle and how she has to come to terms with what's happened to her. And it was so interesting for me at the time because I was growing up in Iran. So for me it was really interesting because I was growing up in a Muslim country and I wasn't really familiar with the teachings of Christ and they were teaching that through this anime and I was like so fascinated by it. This is an anime? Yes. Yes it is. This is an anime and it's called my out the Alps story, my Annette story of the Alps. It's part of the World Classic Theater. That is the OG Studio Ghibli. Um, that's how a lot of the Studio Ghibli stuff came to be. It was through that World Classic Theater stuff. Other like they made other animes like The Adventures of Perrine, Heidi, Girl of the Alps. The other one. They did one about this kid with a lot of the stories was about like the parents of the kids being like dead or whatever, like they're all orphans. So it's like it was all about like the struggle of the orphans trying to um you know uh make life for themselves. What was that one called? There was one about this little boy who went through this earthquake. Oh my god, like that one was so crazy. Hold on, let's see. I have to like type out like on Google like earthquake anime little boy classic anime. It was so crazy. I think it was called I forget this I forget that anime's name. Maybe people in the chat will know, but it was really good and he had to basically take his I think it was called In Search of Mother. In Search of Mother. Yeah, 3,000 Leagues in Search of Mother. That was another one that was like a huge anime back in the day. That's this one right here. Um in 1976, loosely based on small part of the Italian novel Heart. Uh, it's a 52 episode epic. The series was broadcast on World Masterpiece Theater. That's what I've been talking about. And the animation staple showcase each year animated version of the different classic book or story. It originally titled From the Apennines to the Andes. Nippon Animation, who did a lot of these animations, produced the World Classic Theater, adapted Kuro into a second anime television series in 1981, although the second series was not part of the World Masterpiece Theater. It's been dubbed into several languages. And the plot focuses on Marco, a boy who lives with his family in the harbor city of Genoa in Italy during the Depression period of 1881. And Marco's father, Pietro Rossi, is the manager of the hospital who dedicates his time to treating poor patients and therefore the family's financial difficulties. His beloved mother, Anna Rossi, goes to Argentina to work as a maid to earn money for Marco. And basically, when she's in Argentina, long story short, there's an earthquake that happens, and their house and everything is destroyed, and their dad dies, and they're left on their own. So they have to like go from Italy to Argentina in search of their mother. That was the entire story and how they get there. These are really, really old, cool stories that I often recommend people to try and seek out. because these are like we're living in times where you're constantly being showed to um like DEI stuff and like weird stuff in children's cartoons where you're like, should kids really be watching this or like, whatever, and you're like, no, like all these poor kids, like what do they have to grow up on, what good messaging is there? And I feel like all of these older animes are where parents need to be showing their kids, because we grew up on the really great lessons. And yeah, a lot of focus on relationships and families, which I think is really important. And I think that's something we're missing in today's, um, you know, things and families. Grave of the Fireflies is a really good movie. I don't usually recommend people to show that to their kids, because I feel like it's a really depressing movie. So as far as Ghibli goes, I know parents that have fallen into this trap of like, oh, Studio Ghibli's so great, like so anything by them must be great. But and as great as it is, it's definitely not a children's movie. So I think there's a lot of people that have fallen in that into that trap of thinking, oh, just because it's Studio Ghibli, that means it's great. It's the same thing with kind of like Princess Mononoke. So a lot of people will watch, Studio Ghibli, like Spirited Away or Tomyo or sorry, Ponyo or whatever, and they'll be like, or Totoro or any of those little like the earlier ones, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is such a great movie. Let me watch, Princess Mononoke with my 5-year-old," and it's an older it's meant for an older audience, like, teen audience. So sometimes those kind of things are definitely not, I don't think is intended for like younger kids. Um, I've never been able to get into Ponyo. I haven't either. That's probably my least favorite um, Ghibli movie, and I love all of them. But I think like because Ponyo is just so it's meant for such a young audience. In that sense, I haven't been able to get into it, but I can see why a lot of kids and families do because it is a very very cute story for children. So I can understand. See, Ponyo is amazing. There's a lot of people that love Ponyo. I personally wasn't able to get into it, but it doesn't mean it's not a good movie. I think it is a good movie. It's just not meant for someone like me. Like, a woman in her 30s is like, like child it's not if I had a kid, that would be a different story. But, yeah, Argo says, "I'm a child at heart." I mean, I feel like I am too, but, like, it depends on what kind of age. I'm more like like a coming of age. That's why I love coming of age stories. Like, for example, Whispers of the Heart. Like, I love that Ghibli movie, Whispers of the Heart, or Kiki's Delivery Service, or any of those movies that are about the coming of age. I think is really relatable, really cool movies. The other one wasn't so much. Ponyo was just very, very like kiddie. Like it's just about little kids, and not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Little kids need love too, and I think one of the things that was really cool about it actually was that Miyazaki designed that movie for his grandkids, or for his I think his granddaughter, if I'm not mistaken. It could be grandson, but either way, he did it specifically for his grandkids. And I think that's really cool. I mean, imagine having Miyazaki as your granddad and then he like actually makes a movie for you. Like I think that's pretty amazing. He's always kind of been my hero. Like if there was a if I was ever to say like, who in this life do you look up to or who do you think is who inspires you the most has always been Miyazaki for me. He's just an amazing animator, director, conceptual artist, just OG, all the way around. He's affected my life more than any other movie, creator, any other artist, anybody else, like, uh, close equal to, of course, the creator of Sailor Moon, who had also had a huge impact on my life. But I mean, more so Miyazaki because it was just so much when I was so much younger, when I was introduced to Miyazaki stuff. But then Sailor Moon came, after, like into, my kind of like preteen years. And watching like, Sailor Moon taught me so much about friendship and love and kindness and what it means to be a true friend and all of that kind of stuff. Oh my God, look at this. Look at this face.
Hey,
Hello.
well, I'm so small. I'm so
Oh, why are you
small.
so small? There you go.
I'm big now.
Hi.
What's going on, Nina? Hey,
Where
sorry about
where
that.
have
I'm
you
in the
been? How
I'm in the
dare you?
Philippines. I'm in the Philippines right now. So it's kind of weird
Mm.
because it's not my normal time zone in Bangkok and it's not my old time zone in Korea. It's like in the middle. So,
Are
you know,
you living there now?
I'm going to relocate over here
Oh.
because, and this is like the newest legal mindset lore, in terms of the home base, because I can hire people a little bit easier. So it's easier to find
Ooh.
English speaking help. And most, a lot of people who do YouTube and clipping and stuff like that, they're hiring Filipino work. So for me, I need somebody who I can like wrangle face to face to like help me with
Mhm.
creating
Mhm.
stuff because I try to do it remotely. It doesn't work as well. So, anyways, yeah, we're here.
Oh my god, you're here. I did not expect it. I was like, he's gonna sleep through this. It's
No,
just
no,
the
no,
way it
no, no.
is.
I woke up. I was like shaking off my hangover because that indeed did happen last night. Um, About a bottle of vodka happened last night. But yeah, I'm here. I'm here. And someone in the
Yay.
chat mentioned Gray from Project Eggroll. I've already met up with him. Super great guy. And hope to definitely hang out and do some collabs with him in the future. He's super cool, very nice, and he out Asianed me by being sneaky and paying for the bill. That's like he's the superior Asian because he like walked in and paid, and I've never even seen that before. He's on a whole different type of technology.
Wow.
So yeah, it was great.
Wow. Real quick, let me get this super chat here for $3. Western Civilization says, Princess Mononoke critical flaw casting Claire Danes. For the dub, I honestly didn't mind her voice as as the as Princess Mononoke. I like, and at the time she was like the it girl. She was
Yeah.
Juliet. She was the it girl. It made sense at the time. I didn't mind it. I actually think Princess Mononoke has one of the best dub casts of pretty much most of the Studio Ghibli movies.
Oh, of the
Um
Studio Ghibli, yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that was the original Studio Ghibli dub too, like prior to Disney. Like that was before Disney had anything to do with the dubbing. So I don't know. It's
I like Hell's Moving Castle. I mean, someone in the chat mentioned it as well. Like, I see that. Like I liked it. I thought it was fine, but someone wants
it's
to
a good
debate me
movie.
on that. I'm up into it.
I love that movie. I get so emotional. I still get emotional at that movie. So okay, let's start with this because I kind of gave people the kind of like lore, the lowdown of what my first
Hmm.
anime was ever, and
Hmm.
how young I was, like in Iran when I first watched it. So what is yours, Andrew? Like
Well,
what is
here's the
the first
question.
anime?
Here's the real question, and this is I think for a lot of people, especially in the West, and we saw this recently with a certain passing. Do you count Dragon Ball?
Yes, of course. I mean, that's anime.
Well, then it's Dragon Ball, and it's like when I was like 4, 5, 6, like very young. I watched the original Dragon Ball, not Z. We're talking Dragon Ball, Dragon
The
Ball.
first one.
Grew up with that, so that would definitely be number one. I think number two, My Neighbor Totoro, I did see pretty young, but I'm not sure how young I was when I did see that.
Andrew, speaking
Um,
of My Neighbor Totoro, can you stand a little bit like this way? Because then it'll look like you have Totoro ears.
like
Look at
this.
that. Look, there you
This.
go. Look,
There you
it's
go. Clip it.
Totoro, you guys. He's so
Clip it,
cute.
guys. Clip it. Clip it.
Oh my god, that's adorable. Um, I love Totoro. Have you ever heard about that crazy theory that Totoro is actually a really dark story?
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't buy that, but yeah, I've heard that theory.
I've always thought it was actually really fascinating, and when I kind of thought about it through that lens, I was like, I could see it like that because in the end, they never did talk to the kids. Like they were always kind of talking about the kids and the kids kind of like
Right.
disappeared and the parents never really did talk to the kids again. So it was like
Correct.
there's this really weird way of leaving it. Like the ending was weird. So I was like, maybe they did die. That is an
Yeah,
interesting way.
and the thing is that like if you really think about it, I mean Miyazaki, some of his themes are kind of dark. Like if you
Mhm.
go a little layer deeper, there's like a lot there, and there is a lot of like death and darker themes. I mean, a lot of them, especially the ones with dealing with World War II, they're coming out of an era where a lot of people died.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's
There's a
very
hint.
relevant theories. Yes,
Yeah, I mean, and again, with Graves of the Fireflies, that wasn't a Miyazaki, that's a Ghibli movie, but it wasn't a
sure,
Miyazaki movie.
right,
But
right.
yes, Miyazaki has dealt with darker themes as well, like, for example, Mononoke
The
being one
the
of
Wind
them.
Rises is
The
is
Rises,
yeah,
definitely, but that's like a later Miyazaki film versus the earlier ones. And I
sure.
think even like one of his earlier ones was kind of like dark themed in that sense of I think Nausicaa, the cat I think that was kind
The
of
Valley of the Wind, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And a
yeah.
version, there's like apparently I think there's two versions, I think. Um, but yeah, Nausicaa is definitely very intense. I mean, it's dealing with essentially saying like this is what the Earth is going to look like after thermonuclear war and after we, completely
Mhm.
destroy each other. And there's a lot of intense stuff that's going on there.
Mhm.
In those movies. So yeah, no, I wouldn't be behind it. Also, fun fact: Miyazaki really did not like America. He is not. He's like very
Really?
anti-America. Yes, yes. He's very very anti-America, mostly because what he saw his country change a lot in the post World War II era and become Americanized a little bit too fast in his opinion. So that's why a lot of his early sketches, he actually makes fun of America, makes fun of the American style, and is like is a little bit critical of it in a good in a way that perhaps if it was a education, if it was a debate, I might disagree with Miyazaki. But the thing is, despite me potentially disagreeing with some of his views, he puts it in an artistic way. And to me, I know some other people have a problem with Miyazaki because they think it's too preachy. I think it's fine because it's artistic medium. And Miyazaki is the person who I can say I would disagree with him politically, but I love his work, right? If we had a discussion, we would probably not agree on anything politically.
Yeah,
But
yeah, same here. Like we'll probably not agree on a lot of stuff.
complete disagreement, right? Because like for example, like if we're going to have real talk on the environmentalism, it is
Mhm.
wildly overblown, right? Like a lot of the
Mhm.
stuff that we talk about as common parlance, and this whole global warming, everything else, you really get in the facts, it's like, yeah, it's not as bad as you said it was, and as everybody is freaking out to make it. Can it be? Is it a problem? Maybe, but on that level, no, right?
To
Miyazaki's
be
level, no.
fair, though, I think his viewpoints may have changed throughout time because 'cause he's been alive for
Yes.
so long, and, like, those are, like, his
Yes.
views from, like, 40, 50 years ago. Like, I mean, it's been a long time from the '80s, like, '70s. His views has probably changed by now being like, "Oh, okay, like, yeah, global warming never happened." Like,
Right, right.
he's probably kinda like, it's good to make stories about the environment because deep down, environmentalism is not a bad thing. Like to teach kids to like take care of the
No, right.
planet, like it's not a bad thing to note on. But yes, I agree with you. Like, you know, I mean, the environmentalism is just stupid. The mental part of environmentalism is dumb.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes. There's a mental part, and there's okay, what are you doing in your life? And it's like, if it's what you control versus what you don't. And it's like, look, if you in your life are doing what you can to like live as sustainably in your own life as possible, that's good enough. I mean, that's a pretty
yeah.
damn good
And
way.
I hear the Skull Leader says, I hear he's kind of an asshole with regards to Miyazaki. And you know what?
He might
Which
be.
But I ask you this, which genius isn't? Like, when you have a genius in you, I feel like there's, like, an asshole part, Like,
No,
that
yeah,
it
no,
has to be.
I 100% agree with you there, Nina. And honestly, it's deserved. Like This is what I say to people. It's like, you go out there and create movies, right? Or anime that are timeless. Like, it's like, that's fine. You can sit there in your armchair and criticize Miyazaki all you want, but at the end of the day, he's created these, award-winning, so not beyond awards, just this globally influential anime, right? Go out there and do it yourself, right? If you want to talk shit, like, go do the alternative, right? Let's see somebody do something else, right? So, Miyazaki, for all his being, maybe he is a total asshole, but he has changed the world. And certainly Disney, right, influenced heavily in its early days by Ghibli. Now they're influenced by a whole nother by whatever the hell else, but was influenced at some point.
It's interesting to me though, because you bring up Skull Leader says challenge accepted. He's gonna take on Miyazaki right now. Excellent.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the tenacity. And I think it's interesting because we're talking about the message, right? And that's like what kind of Disney has gone into now, is being super just pushing this kind of like alt left ideology, and just putting a lot of these weird messaging into the cartoons and into the whatever else they're making, because they're not really making cartoons anymore anyways. But what is interesting is that Miyazaki always put his messages in his movies as well. So it's not necessarily about how you shouldn't be putting the messages in your movies. It's how you're putting in the message, and whether the story and the character development and what the art and everything else that goes in combination of that message is what I think is the most important thing, right, Andrew? Like, I mean, do you see what I'm talking about? Like with
look, I'm okay with a political message. I'm even okay. Look, I'm okay if someone wanted to make an anime about communism, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if there's a political tone, a political message. Just make it good, and people can talk about it for what it is. They can disagree with the underlying message, but if the actual story is good, the story is good, right? Like, it is what it is. And at this point, we've sacrificed quality, right, over the story, right? And there's a lot of stories that I disagree with the underlying message. There's a lot of stories where I'm like, yeah, this message is bullshit, right? But like, it's a good movie, it's a good story. I'm like, but it's visually, it looks okay, right? Or like, whatever, right? It's possible to have something that you personally ideologically disagree with, but is from its craft work, whether that's anime or manga, drawing, line work, storyline. It can be beautiful, it can be magnificent, and you could just disagree with it, right? A lot of different things go that way. So
now, it like keeping up with the Miyazaki theme, and David Morris, I'm going to get to your super chat in just a second here, but keeping up with the Miyazaki theme right now, have you watched his most recent one, The Boy and the Heron? And because that won the Academy Award this year. Have you seen that yet?
I have not yet seen it, and I actually, so for me, I was talking with a lot of other weebs. I have my anime streams as well, and from what I hear, very mixed reviews.
Same here.
So I am apprehensive because, just like you, Nina, you're the same. I mean, we both are very busy. We're on, we're streaming on our own. We're on other people's streams. We're doing other things. I don't have time for garbage. And I also have adopted the Nina rule, which I really love. I made some exceptions this season because there were really good animes that came out, Frieren, for example, and a couple others that I did watch as they were coming out. But generally, my general rule is I started only watching ones that have an ending, or that have concluded their run. Right. So they're saying like, this is it as far as we know, right? For now, where we bookended it, right? Because I am tired of being, strung along, and then you get an anime that is, all hyped up and then just never gets a season 2.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew.
It's annoying as fuck. Right. And by the way, with Frieren, Frieren may never get a season 2 despite being wildly popular. Right. But it came to a good enough conclusion where you're like, all right, I can leave it here. And walk away from
which one is this?
Frieren. That's the one about the elf girl. Here, I'll put it in the.
Okay, I've not heard about that.
Beyond Journey's End. Yes, Frieren Beyond Journey's End. You'll know it as soon as I pull up this image.
Okay.
You'll have seen it on Netflix. You'll seen it everywhere else. Let me see. 1 second.
And then while you do that, I'm gonna get the super chat. But David Morris for 10 says, "Have you seen Fist of the North Star?"
It's in the private chat. But yes, I have seen Fist of the Northern Star. Excellent anime, classic anime. Definitely.
Oh, this one. Yeah, I remember Brandon, the anime guy, was telling us about this one.
Yes, it is good, and it is to the point where they may never make another season, but it's okay because the story they were trying to tell is told in that one season, which is now concluded. So
Okay,
like,
see, I can deal with that as long as it's like a somewhat of a conclusion. Like I'm fine.
yes. Yeah, it's to a conclusion. You get the message. It's a very interesting story because it's like in Lord of the Rings, you never see the perspective of the elves,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
like if you watched Elrond's perspective, right? But like
Okay.
female Elrond, right? Because like Elrond lived long enough to see so many human heroes come and go and die and pass and all these things
Mhm.
happen in history. And like from their perspective, time, in the sense of time, just doesn't, it's not the same. And it's about what you do with your time and also the beauty of humans not living forever and the
Mm.
beauty of the fact that we only have limited amounts of time. So we have to enjoy our time. We also have to try to excel within a short period of time because we only have a short period of time to excel, and then we're done.
Mhm.
And it is a very beautiful story. It's a great story, and I got into it. It took me 2 or 3 episodes to like get hooked on it, but I eventually got
How many episodes is it?
it. Not too many.
As long as it's not like 600
No,
episodes.
no, 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 no,
I
no, no, no,
think I
no,
can
no,
give
no,
it a
no, 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 no.
go.
I'm just like, is it 20? Is it 20? Hold on, let me look here real quick. It is 20, 28
Oh, that's
episodes.
like old
So
school anime. I love that. Like,
yeah, yeah.
26, 28 episodes. Like, yes, like I'm
20,
very much into that.
28 episodes. Very
That's
doable,
great.
very digestible. And it's just like it's the slice of life of like traveling, right?
Mhm. Now,
It's
Fist of
good.
the
I
North
like it.
Star for me, I've only seen parts of it. So I never actually got to see Fist of the North Star from like the beginning to the end, which it's something I've always wanted to do. It's just, you like lose track of time or like, things happen in your life and then you're like, "Oh, what was the anime I wanted to watch again?" So I definitely do want
Mhm.
to check out Fist of the North Star, like in its like in its totality from episode 1 to like
Right.
whatever it is. I think that one's a longer anime though. I'm not. I think it's like 60 or something episodes. I'm not really sure, but
Mhm.
oh wow, it's like 100 odd episodes.
See, when we start to get up into the hundreds, I'm like, okay, if it's good, like 100 episodes, if they're 20 minutes long and it's good, I might consider it.
Yeah, I'm the
But when you
same
get to
way.
the 200s, 300s, you're really losing me there because that's so much of my time. I better fucking love this anime. I better be something that is like on the level of Full Metal Alchemist, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw, like the ones I really, really
Mhm,
love. It better be really freaking good. If it is not really good, if it's just meh, I'm
mhm.
not gonna go. And people are gonna zing me on this one, but like look, I have not and will not ever watch all of One Piece. I think
Yeah, me either.
some episodes are really funny, and I really do enjoy them. Some are
Mhm.
boring. There's too much. If there's any filler in something that long, I'm just not gonna cover it. And I know Luffy as God is probably in the chat is probably gonna disagree with me there. But like that said, I like the fact they're doing a remake. I like the fact that right now I believe, Nina, correct me if I'm wrong, and chat correct me too. I believe they're doing a shorter, like a condensed anime of One Piece. I believe they're doing that
I've
right
heard that. Yes, I've heard they're doing like a condensed. Yeah, I have heard that
now.
they're
Like
gonna
no
take out like
filler.
the no filler stuff and they're gonna connect like all of the ones. I was like, I'll wait for that. I guess like if that comes out, mind you, with One Piece specifically, and I'm sorry, the chat. I love you guys, and I love anyone who loves One Piece. I was just never able to get into the animation. Like that is one thing that I was just like,
Yes.
I tried, and I was like, I can't do this.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. The animation is not something that's a weak point for me.
Mhm.
I don't like that style. That style doesn't do it for me. It was always kind of a, I don't want to say a whimsical style or something. I don't know how to put my
Mhm. It's
my
so exaggerated. It is exaggerated.
yeah.
It's whimsical, exaggerated. It's like, when people are talking about anime too, like especially like this is what drives me crazy when people are like, "Oh, I've never watched anime. Like where should I start?" And people are like, "One Piece." And I'm like, "Are you fucking insane?" Like
No, that's a
most people who
troll
haven't
answer. The
watched
reason is they're trolling you. The reason
I
is they're
know.
trolling you.
Because it's like most people who have never watched anime, it's one of the reasons is because they can't get behind the art, like the big eyes and like the exaggerated things and the crying and the laughing, like all of it, right? Like all of it, the clumsiness, like it's very animated, it's very different. And so most people can't really even get into that, let alone such a weird animation style of like One Piece. It's like you cannot suggest that for a first anime for people. That
It's
is just
too
not.
well, I mean, maybe for a certain type of person, but like for most people, especially if they're an adult trying to get into anime, I would never
Mhm.
suggest that at all whatsoever. I'd probably suggest, frankly, Cowboy Bebop is one of the best
Yeah.
animes as an entry because the dub is good. They can listen to the dub. It's perfectly fine if it's dubbed. The story
Mhm.
is good. The music is great. It holds up over time. It's got a bunch of different kind of classic motifs,
Mhm.
and I think they'd be generally happy with that. If they're,
I agree.
that's a
I always
general
say
recommendation.
Yeah, like I always say for first timers, it's always good to either start with like an anime classic when it comes to series like Cowboy Bebop or Ghost in the Shell. But I always
Yeah.
even tend to lead towards movies more than anything because I'm like,
Yes.
again, anime is a time investment. So if you want to get into it for the first time, I usually recommend people get into movies.
Akira.
Especially like yeah, like I mean, even Acura, I'm usually nervous about recommending for first timers because
It's
it's
old now.
so weird, like,
Yeah.
it's just so out there, but more things like, for example, you know, Ninja Scroll. Like, I think Ninja Scroll is a
Sure.
really great one for first timers, or even like Studio Ghibli stuff, Spirited Away, or any of the like the old school like original Ghost in the Shell movie. I
Okay.
think
I
would be a
see
great
you. I
one
see a
for
skull
first
leader
timers.
recommending Bible Black to Christians. Bad guy. Bad. Very
Oh
bad.
no, is that bad? Oh
Yes, it's a hentai.
no.
It's a hentai.
Oh, no,
So,
don't do that.
but
Don't no.
Omniscient Guys super chat. I am and Nina knows this, and everybody knows. I'm a huge eight team stan. Eight team is like I stand for Mecca. I think that one is my favorite. It also is super based because it has a pink hair feminist that is
Ooh.
literally domesticated into a pregnant housewife by the power of a man's ball. And I'm
Oh,
not even
wow.
kidding. His ball dominates her and actually gets her into becoming his pregnant housewife and abandoning her family to live with him. Super based, great story, very short, only like a couple of episodes. And is the whole series. So maybe I forget if it's like 13 or 12 or something, but they're all very short. It's very good story set in the Universal Century. Very realistic. A lot of stuff that's like everyday life. Like they've got to get food, they've got to cook and stuff like that. So that just makes it to me an amazing anime. So yeah, highly
That's
recommend it.
awesome. And
Yeah,
then Lance brings up The Vision of Escaflowne for $2. Gorgeous art and music. I've
love it.
never seen
Yeah,
that. I've never
Classic
seen
Fun is quite good,
Escaflowne.
but you gotta get into it.
I know. I've never been into that one. Escaflowne. I have
No,
to
we are
write this
not
down.
recommending Ava. I'm not subjecting anybody to Evangelion unless they're really weird and I hate them. Because that was one of the first animes I watched as a young adult, right? So like, I obviously had Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, and then the Ghibli stuff. But like, usually
Mhm.
some people say those don't count, right? And if it's those
Mm.
don't count, then it's Ava, it's Evangelion, and that is a fucked up anime to come in on, right? You've
Yeah.
got giant robots, psychology, waifus in a vat, jerking off in a hotel room, the reality
Wow.
ending. Yeah. you've got a lot of stuff in there. It's too much.
That's a bit much. Yeah,
Yeah.
for first timers, it's difficult, but once you get into anime, then becomes really interesting to move on from like the mainstream stuff to like the more hidden kind of stuff. Like for example, this anime. Have you either of you watched
Yes,
Wolf's
it's good.
Rain?
It's good. I've seen
It's
it.
great, man. I gotta tell you, when I watched this anime, first of all, this was one of those animes that got me. Like I was like, it got me in the feels. Like I didn't know
Hmm.
what I was getting into when I started watching, and I was like, "What is this movie about dogs?" Like, or
Hmm.
this series about dogs is weird, and it becomes one of the most emotional, just gripping in the best ways possible series that has such a great story. I can't stress that enough. It's very emotional, but very good in the best ways. I highly recommend it to actual anime fans.
Yeah,
Uh,
people who actually love anime. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Um, now, okay, so I also haven't seen the new Miyazaki movie that won the Oscar,
Boy in the
the
Heron.
Boy and the Heron. I haven't seen it. I want to see it. The only reason I haven't seen it yet is because it came to Mexico, um, in in the theater, and as you know, in Mexico they usually bring the raw movies with
Hmm.
Spanish subtitles. So I wasn't able to go and watch it because it would have been like raw Japanese with Spanish subtitles, and I would have been like, what the fuck is going on in this
Okay.
movie? Yeah. It's very awkward. So I was like, you know what? I'll just wait
Get
until
better
it
at
comes out on
Spanish,
DVD.
Nina.
I
Come
know.
on.
But even
Come
so,
on.
I don't know if I could do like three languages. I'd be like, okay, Japanese to Spanish, and then translate it in my brain to like English.
Mhm.
No, I just can't see anime to Spanish. It's not a thing. I am learning Spanish, guys. God, it's just not the same though.
Yo,
Their language is
yo
completely
quiero
different.
mucho español, Nina. No, it's look, I get it, and you already speak, your Farsi, right? Is
Yeah.
pretty decent, right? So, like, once again, she's bilingual. That's more than most of you motherfuckers. So, like, cut her some slack,
Yeah,
But
no shit. Thank you, Andrew.
yeah,
And
like, it's,
so I didn't get to see it, but I've also heard very mixed things about it, and it makes me even more interested to see it, honestly, because I'm like, whenever there's like this kind of discussion about Miyazaki, like I've heard people say that Miyazaki kind of like out Miyazaki'd himself, and
mm,
I kind of get that because I
out
went through that.
Miyazaki himself. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
like
yeah, I see
'cause
it.
okay, so, like, I get that because it's like when somebody has a certain flavor, right? For example, like Woody Allen. Like, Woody Allen has a certain flavor. Like, y when you're
Hmm.
watching a Woody Allen movie, like, you're watching a Woody Allen movie, you know? Or like
Hmm.
Wes Anderson. Like, Wes Anderson's is a flavor. If you're watching
He's
a
a
Wes
weirdo.
Anderson
Yeah.
movie, you're watching a Wes Anderson movie. And speaking of that, I watched a Wes Anderson movie recently that I was like, wow, Wes Anderson just out Wes Anderson himself. And I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? And that was his new movie. It was called like Astro Town or something like that. Or like, what was it called? Asteroid
Mhm.
City, something like that.
I think Asteroid City.
Yeah, Asteroid City. And it was terrible. And I was like, what is this freaking movie? And it was just like him like just overdoing it on everything that's Wes Anderson. And even
Right.
though I
Too
love Wes
quirky.
Anderson, yes, it's just too much. It's just too crazy. So I was like, all right. And I feel like maybe Miyazaki might have done this with this movie. I don't know yet. I want to watch it so I can tell. But it's just I like the dog one. The dog one was great. The Isle of Dogs. Have you seen that by Wes
Which one?
Anderson?
Oh, I thought there's a joke that he doesn't like dogs because a dog always dies in almost all of his films.
No, that one was such a good movie. It's called The Isle of Dogs, and that like the dogs are getting rejected and
No, I haven't seen that.
like into like oh my god, you have to see it. It's like a
Isle of Dogs? Is it Isle of Dogs?
yeah, it's what's it called? Claymation, and it's really
Ah,
freaking good. It's really good. I
okay.
highly recommend it. It's a really good story. Yeah, the Fantastic Mr. Fox was also really freaking good. But
Awesome.
anyways, that's Wes Anderson stuff. We're talking about anime. Now,
Yes.
I did watch a new anime movie that I thought was really good, and that one is called Suzume. That's not by Miyazaki though. That's
I
by
think I've heard of Suzume. Hold on,
the
Suzume.
I think it's by the guy that did Your Name.
Is that the, yeah? Is that the one about the portals? Yeah, yeah. I went to see this one in the theaters. The one that detects earthquakes, right? And there's the earthquakes that are all around Japan. Yes,
Yes, yes, it's
yes,
about the
yes, yes,
earthquakes. And it's got that
yes,
weird cat looking thing in it,
yes.
and they're trying to figure out what this cat thing is, and I don't know. I thought it was a really cute
It
movie.
was an interesting one. I mean, I will say there's like obviously this director, his like little plot device, his Deus Ex Machina, is that
Mhm,
it's always a weather related phenomenon, right? So like
mhm,
in every story, whether it's Your Name or Suzume or whatever, there's a bunch. They're like this one is an earthquake. There's the rain. There's an asteroid in one, right? It's
mhm,
like the calamity stuff. It's always calamity.
mhm,
Anyways, I did like this one. It's a good story. It's a story about childhood, and it's actually a reflection on an actual tragedy, an actual earthquake, and
mhm,
people who lost family in that tragedy. So it kind of hits. I watched that, and it's kind of hard not to well up a little bit at certain times,
mhm.
particularly when it's talking about her family and
Her
her
mom, like,
yeah,
talk about, because I started the show
that hits
talking
me in
about
the
like
feels.
the old school anime that, like, was basically all about, like, orphaned kids. That, like,
Yes.
it was like, I was always watching those animes, and now, like, speaking of that, this is kinda like a throwback almost to, like, this little girl being orphaned, like, I mean, the dream sequences that they did in this was
Hmm.
truly magnificent. There was a lot of amazing, I mean, I think this guy, the guy that made this movie, I forget his name because I'm so bad at names. I think this guy is kind of like the next
Makoto
Miyazaki.
Makoto Shinkai, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So his
Yeah,
the three big
Makoto
ones
Shinkai.
Are Your Name, Suzume, and Weathering with You.
Yes, and I don't know if I've seen Weathering with You yet, but
Weathering with You is about the rain, and there's a girl who is a this is not a spoiler. It's like right away in the thing, but essentially like she brings the rain, right? She's like the rain
yeah,
priestess.
I haven't seen that one yet. This is the
It's good.
second one I was in. And I loved Your Name. Like, I was like obsessed with that movie. But I think that this guy's kind of like picking up the mantle from Miyazaki. I feel like this is like the next Miyazaki when it comes to anime movies and things like that. Like, I mean, he hasn't had a miss for me yet.
I
Just it's incredible.
believe he's got some actual links there. I have to look, but I believe he may. Anyways, yeah, no, sorry, I have to look again. Oh
This
yeah,
is
his
the
favorite.
little
Sorry, so his
kitten.
favorite. That's what it is. His favorite anime includes Nausicaa and Castle of
Aw.
Cagliostro and Lupata, Castle in the Sky by Miyazaki. So he likes Miyazaki, right? So
Clearly has been very influenced by
right,
him,
very
and honestly, like I said, this is the weirdest part too is, like, I was watching this and then I happened to go to the new X-Men 97.
oh god,
So, I
what a
know.
fucking what a flip between quality and trash.
I know, and that was the thing too, is that I know, I feel like it is high praise, but I feel like he's earned it. Like, he's had 3 movies, and it's been all, like, pretty high, like, really good movies, amazing story, amazing animation.
I mean, he's kind of got a genre that he's really good in. It's not Miyazaki in that it's not geared more towards. Well, at least some Miyazaki's like across genders and demographics, although it tends to be stories that are family friendly, right? Not
Mhm,
all of them, but they
mhm,
tend to be pretty family friendly, right?
mhm.
These stories are more like a young person would enjoy them, especially people of the dating age, of the find like which in romance, like there's always a
Yeah,
romance
much
element.
more coming of age stuff. Again, like,
Yes.
a lot of coming of age, a lot of, like, like, young adult stuff like that. Now, like, now what I was gonna say with this regards to this though is that now I actually think X-Men 97. Have you watched any of them, Andrew?
No, I haven't. I just saw that. Who was it? Like Gene? Who was it? Rogue's ass was not as curvy, so I was like,
Now,
not interested.
okay, so I'll tell you this. I have been watching it. I've watched it up to almost the most recent episode because I haven't watched the newest one yet. I'm going to watch that tonight. But it's
Hmm.
really good in terms of story. Okay. So they're actually following the comics. They're actually executing the story really, really well. But
Hmm.
when it comes to the animation,
Looks like
for
trash.
me generally, yes,
Looks like trash.
it is fallen. Like it is definitely fallen. And I learned that it is actually being done by a Korean studio. Studio Mirror is doing their animation. It's the same people that were doing The Legend of Korra. They've done a whole bunch of animations on Netflix and stuff like that. They're a big house
Well,
in Korea.
that's cool, but yeah, I don't like that style. It's not my thing. I'm not really interested in that. So yeah, that alone can be a turnoff for me. I'm sorry, like I have limited amount of time, and if it doesn't meet quality standards, I'm just not going to watch it. You know, and but if someone else wants to watch, they can.
Yeah, and it's but the weird part for me was that I was doing some research about it, and that's kind of like been the point of contention for a lot of people because like a lot of people love the story so much. So they're like, we're gonna like excuse and also the animation in terms of like the battle scenes and stuff like that are actually really nicely done. And it's kind of like been updated, new pizzazz and all that stuff. But like the character animation is so bad and so cringe that you're like, oh, it just takes you right out of it. At least it does for me. And
I
so when I
can't.
was watching this anime, and
By
I'm
the
on
way,
people
here's a
are like,
question:
oh,
is
mhm.
X Men '97 anime?
No,
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
I wouldn't say I would say no because it is well, even though it's being done by a Korean company in the style of kind of like anime or whatever you want to call it.
I wouldn't say it's in the
I
style of
wouldn't
anime though.
Yeah,
Not
I would
even
say it's actually being done in a style of Western
Western.
animation. They're
Yeah.
trying to copy the old X-Men. I've never thought X-Men or any of the like even Batman, the animated series, Superman, Spider-Man, those are not anime. They're
Right.
not Japanese
The
animation, they're Western.
Western animation, which sometimes is okay, but it's a different thing. So the
Yeah,
style is different. I don't define anime as just run by Japanese people. I think define it more as a style,
the
right? And
style,
like
same.
if it escapes that aesthetic style, then it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if it's made in Japan because a Japanese shop could make Western animation, and then to me it's Western animation, right? So
And so here's my question to you. Do you consider Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime?
that's on the edge.
It is, right? Because
Can go either way.
I've had a difficult time kind of
It's
like
the
characterizing
bisexual
that.
of products, you know. There, it can go either way.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little iffy.
I don't know. I'm
Um,
experimenting. It's
I
college. It's
still
college.
I still lean towards Western animation when it comes to Avatar because I think it's giving like there's a nod to anime for sure, but I still consider Western anime
Well,
like animation.
the live action, they've certainly westernized because they took pretty much everything that mattered about the East that they put in it and completely destroyed it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a thing now. So they've definitely westernized the IP as a whole.
Ooh, yeah, I stopped watching the animated or
The live
the
action.
live action one on Netflix after like episode 3. Like I was like, I'm done. Like I can't get into this.
Well, I think people were hyped coming off of One Piece. They're like, oh my God, they actually didn't fuck up a live action adaptation. And people got really hyped that, oh my God, all of them are going to be like One Piece. No, One Piece was the exception, not the rule. And by the
Mhm.
way, I don't mean to be a negative Nancy here. I'm just stating facts. One Piece is not done yet. So they still have time to fuck it up and to add all of those woke things in. And by the way, the director, and the, people may not want to hear this, but yes, the Japanese side, on the Japanese side, there's some quality control, but the American folks are very much political and very much do want to inject stuff into that story. So they're trying to slip it in there where they can. So I wouldn't be surprised
Mhm.
if they try to get it in there over the Japanese side of the story. So I wouldn't be surprised with that. So don't sleep yet. More to come. We got some more seasons to come.
Yeah, and well, the most interesting part about that too is what you're saying is like the fact that like, I mean, even the anime has not ended for One
No,
Piece.
no, no. So at what point could they slip in somebody be like, oh yeah, this was all really a trans allegory? It's like, okay, well,
Can you imagine?
like,
Oh my god.
no, I can't imagine. I can't imagine because that's just what they do, and it's
Yeah,
like
it's true. They
it's
do that all the time.
and I say this to people, it does a disservice to everybody, including to the trans community, because if you want to make a story about it, just make an overt story about it and just
Mhm,
make it clear and make it a good story. And you know what? People might actually watch that. But
mhm,
don't try to subvert existing stuff and inject something that really isn't there. Because One Piece isn't about, gender or sexuality. In fact, the main character is really kind of asexual, right? Like he's not
mhm.
like Luffy is not somebody that really he doesn't have, doesn't like girls or guys really. It's just Luffy, right? Luffy is
Ooh, I
Luffy.
think some Luffy
So,
people in the chat are gonna be pissed off at you now that you said that's their
no,
bro,
not
dude.
not not in a bad way. I mean, just of like when you're, it's sort of
I'm
like when
teasing.
you're a kid growing up, when you're like a young kid, you're not really thinking about that yet. Like as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old or 12-year-old, they're not in this realm, and
Mhm,
that's good. That's a good thing, right? You're just
mhm,
thinking about, hey, I want to be the number one pirate. Like
mhm.
every kid wanted to do something like that at some point. I want to be the number one astronaut. I want to be the number one firefighter. I want to be the number one this, number one that. And it's not about anything else. There's no political agenda when you're freaking 11 years old or 10 years old, despite what some people want to inject. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I like it's so interesting to me that people thought that about the Avatar: The Last Airbender as well, because originally the Avatar creators went to Netflix, they were really excited, and then they ended up leaving the project due to creative differences. And most people have, just forgotten that that happened. And when the series came out, everybody was like, well, why is the story different? And why is it so much more
Mm-hmm.
dramatized and stuff like that? And I was like, because the creators left literally because they said that Netflix wants to make this like a teen, kind of like Riverdale style teen drama thing. And so they've changed all of these things, including like they changed how Aang, was meeting with his like his past avatar versus
Right.
Kyoshi, and they made it all about Kyoshi because they wanted to put like the whole women thing in there. And
Yes.
it just
Yes.
like that
Strong
took
women.
away so much from the original story because the original story was the fact that his last incarnation was a Fire Nation guy. And that was that the war was with the Fire Nation right now, and what had happened. That was literally the entire point of the story. And so they've like changed all of that now. And so after that, I was just like, I gave it a shot for a minute because I was like, let me just see what it looks like. Like I just wanted to see how it looks. And it actually looked really good in the first episode. Like I was like, the costuming is really well done. The sets were really well done. Like there was like this one set where they had the Fire Lord and he's just like standing with all the fire around him. And it looked exactly like the cartoon. So I was like, wow, this had so much potential. And it makes me really sad that they didn't do what they should have done with it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no, and the thing is, like, you just have to tell the story, right? Because there is a story there, but it's based in Eastern culture. It's based in, it's based in, lore, Asian lore, and they decide to shit on that, right? They also decide to shit on
mhm,
things like hierarchy, like gender relations, like in the way they are, and the way that most people accept them to be, right? And it's just, it's sad. It's very sad. It's pathetic, and frankly, it's disrespectful. And to me, even doing that is in a way it's a form of racism because they're essentially saying, hey, we have our political view, which is more important than your culturally influenced IP, right? We want to make this thing into our product, which
mhm.
it's the thing they accuse others of doing, but of course they do over and over and
They always do that, yeah, and, I wanted to also highlight, the fact that there's been news that I just found out the other day since we're on the topic of Avatar. I don't
Sure.
know if you've heard or not, but they are actually making the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, animation movie, which
Oh,
is
what?
supposed to be set but this is by the creators of the original Avatar, and they're making it basically set in as a sequel to the Avatar: The Last Airbender and a prequel to Korra. So it's going to be, you know, obviously involving the struggles of adult Aang and bringing peace to, you know, the struggles after what happens and him teaming up with Zuko to
Sure.
establish their new world, which I think is really interesting. They should have definitely come out with this before they came out with Korra, but hey,
Yeah, it is what
here
it
it
is.
is.
And it also, now that the live action is out, it's actually damages this IP. People got to realize, like, when you have something that damages your IP, it doesn't matter if you come out and make something good. This is going to be the problem for Star Wars, right? 20 years down the line, when Star Wars is finally liberated or whatever else, which eventually, maybe it's 50 years, maybe it'll eventually be severed off, right?
Mhm.
Because you can only tank an IP so much. People won't care anymore that you made something good, because you've put it in the grave, you shot it in the head, and you've buried it. And there's a point at which the fans are just not there anymore. You've dried
Mhm.
them out, and Avatar will get there, and you also saturating the market with Avatar related stuff. So yeah, it
Mm.
doesn't work. It really doesn't work. I actually think, conversely, you can look at Harry Potter and sort of the Harry Potter drip drop. The fact that woman, J.K. Rowling,
Mhm.
has over the years kind of bled out Harry Potter stuff over the decades. We're talking about books, movies, theme parks, right? Drip, 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 drop. And some of them have been bad, like in terms of
Mm.
quality, but none of them have critically damaged the IP,
Mm-mm.
right? So you
Mhm.
might be like, look, I saw The Cursed Child, right? Did you see The Cursed Child?
No.
Right?
Oh, you mean the movies?
No, the play.
No.
Um, so yeah. Anyways, the point of the matter is that, like, not even the stuff that's bad, right? It doesn't destroy the IP, and
Right.
that's different with Star Wars, and now we're seeing that with anime, with Avatar, right?
Mm.
And you can see that, by the way, with any other IP, right? Even one of my favorites, Cowboy Bebop, right? That disservice they did of the live
Oh
action
my god,
has.
that was bad.
But what does that do? That prevents them from making a live action again, number one. And it also says to the market makers that, oh, there's not that much interest in Cowboy Bebop, even though there's just not that much interest in that dog shit,
Now,
right?
what do you think of that along the same lines of what you're talking about with what's going on with something like Demon Slayer? Because I feel like I feel like the studios are really smart in terms of like dragging it out, but it also annoys the shit out of me because I'm like, "Oh, God, they're milking this so bad. Like it's like they're just hard milking it. Like I heard that like they brought out like one of the movies and it was about like two chapters of the comic book and it was like basically a sub thing too. Like it wasn't even
Mhm.
like the main storyline, and people still went to the movies in droves just to watch it. And like a part of me is like, man, that's smart. But a part of me is like, oh man, I would be pissed if I was like, if I had gone to the movie theater to watch like, Demon Slayer, like, the next chapter or whatever. And it's like a fucking, filler. Like it's like I'm paying
Yes,
to go to the fucking movies to watch a filler episode. So like that kind of
but
annoys
that
anime studios
but
sometimes.
that said, almost all movies, anime movies, are going to be filler, right? So, like, if you watch My Hero Academia, right, which I know you
Mhm.
don't, but like all the movies are essentially filler episodes, which are replaceable at any point, right?
That's true.
So
Mhm. Like, same with
they
Cowboy
are.
Bebop. They had, like, a filler movie. Like, it
Stairway
was
to
like
Heaven. Now I will say that what I appreciated, because Cowboy Bebop was already done with its main run.
yeah.
My
Mhm.
problem with My Hero Academia is they didn't do it after. Like, I'm okay once the series is done, with you making as many other supplemental side stories, whatever, right? Finish the
Mhm.
fucking main series, okay? Like, your job, it's like George R. R. Martin.
Yeah,
Finish the
I was just
fucking book.
thinking that.
Finish the fucking book,
Fuck.
George.
Yes.
Finish the goddamn book, you fat fuck. Like, I'm
I
sorry. Like, I
know.
have some sympathy for him at first. I did. I really did. But he's clearly just fucking around now, and he clearly doesn't care. Right. So it's like,
Mhm. That's true.
the same principle goes for anime, right? Just finish the main work. Because, by the way, everybody can
Mhm.
die. We're like, we're all mortals, right? So, like, if you're the creator of something and you go off and die, or something happens to you, you're sick, you're hospitalized, whatever, Now you got an unfinished series. And now that's how people are going to remember you. That's your
Hey,
magnum
Berserk is
opus.
the perfect example of that, and I love Berserk, but we never got an actual ending, and everyone's
And,
like, "Oh, don't
and
worry, like his son's gonna finish it." And I'm like,
it's
"That's
not
not the
going to be as
same fucking
good.
thing."
It's the Chris Tolkien, right? Like Chris
Yeah.
Tolkien, he may look, he did protect the estate from the wokeness that is Amazon, right? Because now you see what happens when it's just hoard out to Hollywood is the
Yeah.
Amazon Lord
Mhm.
of the Rings, which is
Yeah.
an abomination unto God. And it really is like, to me, I as a Tolkien fan and somebody who likes Lord of the Rings and also knows the principles of Tolkien, it's disgusting that that
Mhm.
corporation, what they've done to that property and who they are and the fact that they own it. It is nasty. But that said, you can see the problems with the son. The son is not the father. Now,
That's true.
Berserk was pretty far along
Mhm.
and it was reaching its zenith slash conclusion ish. So there's a way to wrap it. And I think there were
Mhm.
enough notes and other information on it from his dad that he could probably wrap it. But you don't want to be in that position. Yeah,
I
yeah. See, there you go. That's
Yeah,
what
I've
Maria.
heard of
Yeah,
this.
there's
I've
notes. There's
heard of it. I
notes.
still think it's not the same though. Like I'm like, it's
Of
still
course it's
not the
not.
same, you know? Like,
Of
I
course it's
mean,
not.
I would have loved it if you had actually finished it and it was near the end. I mean, oh my God, like that took forever. I remember
Well, I
like
mean, I
still
guess
logging
like
on, being like, is there another chapter out, please? You know, like
you can get it, Guts's arc in the Godhead and defeating the
Mhm.
Godhead and Griffith and Costco. There's some conclusions that can go on there, right? So
Definitely. Real quick, let me get these super chats here. We got Omniscient Guy for $2 as another great anime to see is Perfect Blue. I
that's
love
one
that
that
anime.
is good, but it has a grape in it, so that's the controversial
That
part.
was a really, really messed up scene. I actually watched that when I was a teenager and
Yes,
it messed me up. Like I was
yes,
like incredibly messed up. Like I couldn't sleep that at night. It's a very graphic rape scene. So if you're a woman that's out there that's like, you have triggers, just be warned because that is very graphic.
yeah. That one, I
Um
think, what is it, Kite? I think I watched like Kite, and I didn't know like Kite. I was like, wow, they really like. They're not like, it's sort of like usually the camera will pan away, and it's like
yeah.
we're
Oh, they
not going to
were messing
show
around
this.
with this one. They
Yeah,
weren't
it's
gonna
like, no,
yeah.
we're just gonna show this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I really feel like nasty, like you
But
said.
it
I
was
like
so interesting the way they did it though. Like
yes.
it like that's why it's so like I can still to this day watch it and be like, yeah, it should have been in the movie. Because there's a lot of times where you see something like that and you're like, that didn't need to be in the movie. Like you could have not
Yes.
shown it. But it needed to be shown in this movie. And it was like it was so impactful, such an impactful scene. And like just generally speaking, the whole movie is just fascinating movie about psychology and psychopaths, crazy people. It's
Yep.
also part of it's also based on a true story of what happened with that guy that stalked what's her name?
Yes.
The chick that wore the swan dress. What's her
Yeah, yeah,
name?
I know what you're talking about.
Chat will help me out.
Hold
Swan
on.
dress at the Oscars. Asian chick.
Hold
Why am I
on.
spacing out on her name right
I
now?
don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to based on
But yeah, that was a true story. That actually happened to some dude, and then he offed himself before, like well before Bjork. Thank you, Daniel Bjork.
Oh
That
yes, Bjork.
yes.
Yeah.
So like Bjork's stalker who offed himself, he like ended up like sending her all these letters. He wanted to kill her. He like sent her like this bomb and it was intercepted. It was a whole fucking thing. But that was part of like the stalker of that chick in the movie was based on that guy's character.
These parasocial relationships, they're really weird, right? They're really, really
Hmm.
weird. I see that covering VTuber stuff, like it's like covering a lot of that now. It's like these very interesting parasocial relationships with, projecting a star or an influencer or an idol as your boyfriend, as your girlfriend, right? Like it is
Mm.
weird. It's really fucking weird. I mean, you know how this is, Nina.
Oh
Like,
my
I
god,
mean,
it's totally
you're
that movie. That is exactly what they're talking about.
and that was before its time because that was before social media. But now it's even easier because you see somebody, and what is that new catchphrase the kids are saying? It's exactly me, or like that's me exactly, or something like that.
Oh my god, is that
Um,
a new saying kids are saying?
yeah,
I
it's like
was
a thing where
well
like they'll
unaware
see
of. My God.
They'll see something and they're like, it's literally me. Oh, that's it. It's
Oh,
literally
it's
me.
literally me. Okay, I've heard
Yeah.
that one. God, Andrew, you scared me
Yeah.
for a sec. I thought I'd fallen off with the
No,
kids
no, 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 no.
today.
You're still hip with the Gen Z crowd.
Yeah, I'm still okay. I'm still hip.
It's literally. Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. Argo got it. He's just like me for real, for real.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, is that what it is? I
that's
was
it.
not in. I
That's the
know.
new
I didn't
version.
know about this.
Just
I
like
didn't know about
me
this.
for real, for real.
Well, I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you taught me at Argo. Thank you for keeping me up to date with the lingo of the Gen Zers. Uh, Also, you had a Rumble rant coming for you, Andrew. A
Spicy.
Rumble rant from TZ Burton says, Andrew, how do you like the Philippines? If you get a chance, go visit El Nido or El
Palawan.
Nido, Palawan.
Yeah, I plan on going to Palawan. Palawan is quite beautiful from what I hear. I was in Boracay for 5 days just chilling. That's why I wasn't streaming. So um, yeah, that's what. So beautiful beaches, really great. Speaking English, higher English fluency than Thailand, right? Which is really big.
Mm,
Definitely more American influence, right? And that can be a bad and a good thing, right?
mhm.
But for me, I'm trying to work still. I am working. I'm going to do YouTube and other stuff. A big thing I do is getting people over here to Asia too. It's my second channel, Go East Gentlemen. And so yeah, so that's a big part of what I do. I love it here. It's really great. People are super hospitable, similar to Thailand. Southeast Asia, very welcoming, very hospitable. Unlike Northeast Asia, where as a foreigner they really don't want you there. So
Oh my God.
they're like, get the fuck out, right? They're
Mhm.
okay with your tourist money, but they don't want you to live there. They're not happy about that, and especially not date anybody. No way, don't do that. Super banned.
That's
Um,
funny. One last thing I want to say about this, the Perfect Blue situation. By the way, there's the same guy that made Perfect Blue. He also has another movie called Millennium Actress, which is one of my favorite animes,
it's a good one.
movies
Yeah,
of all time.
seen it.
Same with another one he did was I think he did Paprika as well, and that one was really good too. So that there's two more for you guys if you haven't seen it. Check those out. And then you just shared this with
The
me, which
private chat, yeah. That's the new meme in anime format,
oh my
like of the
God.
psycho fan, who's like, he's just like me, and there's like girlfriend or friend, whatever, there's like sitting in the corner while he's like, this is so accurate, right?
Uh This is I mean, I
This is
cannot
fucking
believe
accurate.
I didn't even know that that was a thing, but yeah, that is, like, accurate. I didn't even know that saying, though. I'm so glad I did this stream with you because now
Thank
I've
you.
learned
You're welcome.
something.
You're
Tokyo
welcome.
Godfathers too, that's true. Grim says Tokyo Godfathers about they like the Perfect Blue people made the same movie.
Yes, it's good.
And Tokyo Godfathers is about cross-dressers. So
Yeah,
like, way
and I thought
before
it was
Vogue.
good. I thought it was good, and I had no issue with Tokyo Godfathers, right?
Mhm. Same
So,
here. I had no problems with it because it was well in line with a great story and it made sense for what it was. It
yep.
wasn't shoved down our throats.
No,
So
it is
it
what
was
it
really
was,
good.
and
It
it wasn't a
was good.
story about. It wasn't a story about transing children. It was actually
Yeah.
a story about like caring for a child. So,
Yeah, it was about
like
a kid.
in a wholesome way. So
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
it was fine.
And then 200 Watt Studios, what's up? Says for $2. Fantastic video today. Well said. Thank you so much. I did put out a video before we went live here
How dare
about
you?
some drama going on online. So if you're interested in
Which drama is
online
it?
drama, go and check that out. It was about like Mark Hamill's
Oh,
granddaughter's mom coming out and making some
yeah.
statements on Twitter today.
Hypocrisy on Hamill's part for a long time now.
Yeah, but it was an interesting it's an interesting video. Just go check that out. Now, oh, okay, thank you for bringing this up because I absolutely love Monster. Monster is one of my all-time favorite animes. So good. Have you watched it yet?
No, I'm not. I
How
am
dare
not.
you, sir? Please
How
add
dare I?
this to your list. I know it's a longer one, but this is definitely one of those that
It's a
should give
series?
you yes, you need to give this a pass, Andrew. It has an ending. You need to give this a pass. This is
All
about
right.
65 episodes, I think. Absolutely worth it in every single way possible. Yeah. Yeah. All of it. It's worth it, Andrew. It's worth it. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It's
All right, I
so good.
trust you because you did do me right on Pluto. So I will say
Well,
I
and
did really
speaking
enjoy it.
of Pluto, let's talk about that because I believe the people that did Monster also I'm very, very like almost I haven't done the research on this. I should have probably done that. But I think the people that did Monster were very much involved in doing Pluto because the character animation is really similar. It's 74 episodes. Oops, sorry. It's
Wow.
even better because you get
Uh-huh.
more. So Pluto, yes, there we go. So people are confirming that in the chat because I thought so too because of watching Pluto and knowing like how much I've watched Monster multiple times now. I actually did a recent rewatching of it because I wanted to know if it holds out and if I actually believe the things that I say about it today. You know how like when you watch something for a long time, you're like, maybe my mind has changed about this. Like maybe I should rewatch this thing. So I did that with Monster and I realized that I love it even more now and it was even better than I imagined it to be. So and then when I watched Pluto, I was like, there's so many. First of all, all the characters look like they're drawn by the same people. And also there's major shout outs. Like one of the main characters there is named Dr. Tenma, who is the main
Oh,
character of Monster. So I'm like, there's definitely like a lot of just, little
crossover.
Easter eggs and crossovers. That's right. Um, and
Also,
also,
shout out to the Persian connection in Pluto.
yes, let's talk about the Persian connection and
I
Pluto.
was like, wow, like Persia's getting a lot of like love here, and like they got something, they got a leader named Darius. I'm like, whoa, they're going like really deep in the Persian lore. I'm like, I'm
I
loving it. I'm
know,
loving it.
dude. I was blown away by the Persian lore in that show. Now,
They did their
guys,
research. They did their research.
they
I can
did,
say
and
that.
you know what's funny too is that like they weren't super like they weren't really great. Like the Persian guy was like the bad guy in the movie. So but it's
Yeah,
not,
but you know,
but it wasn't like I minded that. I was like,
it wasn't
yeah, Persian
offensive.
guy is the bad guy. That's fucking
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Well,
it was
he's still
awesome.
a main character, right? And like his
Mhm.
motivations, like, and the thing is about villains is like they should have a believable motivation. And like when
He
your
did.
family is killed, that's a very believable motivation. Like I'm
Yeah,
willing to
he had
believe
a
that motivation.
really good motivation. Now, did you think okay, spoiler alert. Should we do spoilers for Pluto? I don't know if we should because I want people to go watch this anime
What?
and I think it's just
Yeah. Can
I
you
don't
do it
know.
without a spoiler?
No, because I was gonna
Okay.
say something and then it would kind of give it away.
Yeah.
But okay, to give
Because
you like the
in the
lowdown.
beginning, you're like, what the fuck is going on? That's what makes the
Mhm.
story good. Because in the beginning, you're like, I have no clue what's happening here. And
Mhm.
then you don't even understand it till like almost the end.
Okay, people are yelling at us to not spoil it. Okay, no. Okay. So Pluto is definitely not a planet.
It's an anime.
I'm just let it's an anime. Well, I mean, it is a planet, but it's not an anime. I mean, it's also an
No,
anime.
it's not a planet.
But that's debatable.
It's a
I'm
dwarf
still
planet.
calling
It's a dwarf
I'm
planet.
still
I'll accept it
it's
as a dwarf planet.
it has a okay, dwarf has the word planet in it. So it
Sure, I'll give you that one. But like its orbit sucks, and it's like
no, no, no,
similar to
no. You don't need to watch
Kuiper Belt
Astro
objects.
Boy to watch Pluto. There's a lot of like again, a lot of homage into this anime, into Pluto, and one of the biggest ones was Astro Boy. They gave a huge homage to Astro Boy in the anime. But Pluto for the most part is a standalone 8 episode anime. Each episode's about an hour, a little bit over an hour long, which was really interesting in itself in that sense because it was about like it's basically like a movie. Like you're watching an hour long or a little bit more each time.
And I
Uh
like that. I
yeah,
like the series that are short enough that it feels like a movie that just got like a movie broken up over episodes, but it's like it bookends, right? Each one
yeah.
bookends, but it felt so clean watching it and having a conclusion. God damn, it feels so good.
This
I love having a conclusion because you're telling the entire story. You're not
mhm,
telling portion of it. You're not hoping you're going to get to tell more. You're done.
mhm,
You're
mhm.
100% done.
That's exactly how I felt about it. Like, it felt so satisfying to watch that anime. The Persian connection, of course, for me was definitely a plus because I was like, they're talking about the Persian Empire. And just like, it was so cool and creative to see how they've created this world, this universe that is kind of like an alternate reality to what has happened to our world. But it's so interesting because I also think
It's
that
a future. It's a potential future because, like, once again, we're dealing with
100%.
like what's going to happen with AI and robotics and stuff like that. Because look, this stuff is all going to advance, and we are going to have to deal with these questions. We are going to have to deal with, like,
Absolutely.
if we made something that is superior to us in a lot of performance aspects, like, how would we deal with that, right?
Mhm.
And how would we regulate that? And would there be an interest in, disrupting this norm, right?
Mhm. The idea of, like, robotics rights and, like, the idea of how, like, robots were meant to have families and, like, different things and, how all of these rights were passed and, like, all of these things had to come to fruition for the story to progress, and as it's progressing, it's showing us the different perspectives of the different humans and the different robots. It was absolutely such a well planned out, well done story. Really nothing is left to question, or I don't think there's any loose ends really left over. And it was really cool to see how they even did like miniature stories within the grand story. Like, for example, in the first episode, how you get the story of that musician, like the piano player, and like what happened to him and his childhood, like all the stuff. And it was such a weird episode because I'm sitting there going like, wow, this is such a fascinating episode. And then it went from like the first, like, hour, like first half an hour, to a completely different story for the second, hour of the show. And I'm going like, okay, well, how does this tie into the first hour of the show?
But
Like,
then you
I
get
don't
it
get
later.
this. Yeah.
You get it eventually. But
Mm-hmm.
like, it's these subplots and stories, and you're like, wow, this really does all tie together. And you made a series where, and it's really truth about, you don't need a lot of characters. You just
Mm-hmm.
need to give them good details, good backstory, good background, make them convincing. Like, and that is what moves a story, and that's what makes a story moving. Like, I never
Mm-hmm.
thought I could be fucking, like, emotional about like a fucking, robot that wants to play the piano,
I
right? But like,
know.
you,
Me
by the end
too.
of it, it makes you actually identify with this, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, this is very relatable.
Dude, when that guy told him, like, you don't need to do that again. Like, you can play the piano. I had like tears in my eyes. I was like,
Yeah,
he's earned it. Like, he earned his humanity.
yeah.
It's like, it was so good. So, guys, I can't express enough. Netflix does some things right sometimes, and one of them was this show. Pluto is a
Something
great show.
occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally you get, a broken clock can be right twice a day. And this is definitely one of those shows. So definitely go and check it out. Star Wars Girl 19 for $2 says Grape Man is the best anime ever made, full stop.
Haven't
I
seen
think
it.
you're probably talking about Redo of Healer, which I don't like. I don't subscribe to anime like that. I
Oh,
don't
redo of Healer. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not interested in animes like that personally. It's just
yeah,
a personal thing. If you like it, great. I'm just like,
it's its
you
own
know,
thing.
yeah, it's its own thing. Would you consider Redo of Healer hentai? Because I would.
That's one of that's like a, what is your philosophy on what is hentai, like, and also what is the purpose of the series, which is a debate, right? Is it made to be, is the purpose sexual in nature, or is the purpose primarily a story where there's sexual elements?
Mm,
Because I do think that it is a story, which you may disagree with, you may not like, whatever else. I think the story is still the primary driver, but it just has very strong sexual elements because the story is involving literally sexual topics, right? So,
mm,
like, yeah, there's a like, I don't think it's hentai, but it's really on the line. And if someone thinks it is, I won't even fight them. I would just say,
mm.
okay, you're just defining a hentai differently than I am.
Okay, and apparently there is an actual anime called Grape Man.
Wait, what?
Star Wars 19 follows it up with Grape Man's better than Redo of Healer, and people in the chat are saying that it's a there is one called Grape Man apparently.
Okay.
Okay,
Grape
so
Coon? Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
All I
I've
know is like
never heard of this anime.
Mineta from My Hero Academia as Grape Man.
Okay. Um Star Wars Girl 19 also says, so by Andrew's logic, are dwarf people not people?
No, I was using it in the same sense of like, are Neanderthals humans? Are they? Are they? No, I mean technically not, or maybe they're close enough. Like,
They're
how
Homo
far do you want to go?
sapiens.
Is a chimp? I mean, I mean, what's your dividing line? Because we're not that far from chimps, right? So, like, what percentage of chromosomes do you need? What percentage makes it a
This
planet?
is why I identify with Kong, okay? Because I think he's part of us. That's why I'm always Team Kong, because we're like team primates. Not
Yes,
team
no, we are.
pigeons.
We're
We're
not Team
team
Reptile.
primates.
We're not Team Reptile. No, I agree with
Exactly.
that. We are not Team Reptile.
So that's where I stand with regards to monkeys and where you draw the line. I draw the line as monkeys. Like I think they're like us. Monkeys are like free us.
Yeah, I'm saying don't chimp out in the chat, guys. Don't chimp out in the chat.
Thank you. Pajori for $5
I
says,
think I've seen this
if
one.
you don't mind a harem one that is fun, aesthetica of rogue hero. Main hero is not blank slate wimp, but a complete Chad.
I need to watch this. I have not seen it. I think no. I've seen something else.
I've never even heard of this one.
No. I
Usually I'm
will
not
look it
a
up.
yeah, I'm not huge into like harem ones usually. I'm also not into slice of life anime. I'm just gonna just flat out say it.
Really?
Yeah, there's just certain animes that you again. This
What
is
type
my
of
anime
slice of life
debate
do you
thing.
not like? What like? Give me an example of one you don't like.
I cannot stand anything like Clannad. I can't stand
I mean,
anything
that's
like
different though. Yeah.
yeah, but it is slice of life though. It's like, you're people are going to school and then they're living their life and then somebody fucking goes into a coma and they never wakes up. I cannot stand weird like anime like that. I can't stand anime that's like about cooking. I'm like, why am I watching things being cooked? I feel like I'm getting fat just looking at these drawings. I don't like weird, just like, oh, I'm just waking up to go to school.
There are some school ones I like though. Like it's occasional, like Toradora. I think is really cute and funny, and it's like got a good story and it has a conclusion, right?
Mm.
And like eventually the couple kind of makes their move there. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Slice of life can be very formulaic.
That's Kanon, not Cloud. Dude, I've mixed them up. Either way, they're all with the coma. Yeah, like I mean, there's so many of them, and I'm just not a
Coma.
fan. I'm like,
Everybody's in a coma.
so I cannot send it. I'm like, I can't do this. Thank you again for that super chat. Nick Braun, thank you for the $1.99. Says a dwarf only has to serve half the time for the crime.
That's not how it works.
I was like, you're a lawyer. I don't think that's true. Okay.
That's not a legal precedent.
So I talked about watching Suzume and Pluto as my most recent animes that I really, 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 really like. What are some of yours before we call this stream?
I would. Oh God. Recently, let me go over to my. Let me go over my list of stuff I've watched soon. So Dungeon Meshi or Delicious in Dungeon, right? And by the way, I'm the type of guy who typically will say the English name, not the Japanese name. I know a lot of anime people, a lot of weebs out there will just say the Japanese name. But Delicious in Dungeon is one.
Delicious in Dungeon? That sounds like a cooking anime show.
It is. It is.
God.
But it's actually.
Get out of here, Andrew.
It's actually good because there's a story behind it, and the story is compelling, and the cooking is a side element to a very compelling story. So actually,
okay, side element I can deal with. Okay,
yes,
okay,
it is. It is not about like they're actually doing stuff. They're not just like only cooking. Like
okay. Okay.
There's more there. Yeah. And by the way, people mention Toradora. Yeah. And say Toradora is more rom com. Yeah. And like,
Okay.
once again, you can make a genre, like you can take this school thing and make it into something different. Like Full Metal Alchemist, for example, not Full Metal, Full Metal Panic was
Mm.
a mecha anime that involved school for a bit,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
you can take stuff and like make it different and do something different, subvert the um, the genre.
Mhm.
Obviously, I said Frieren. Really recommend that one for new anime. And then there's another one. Oh God, but it's not done yet. So I want to.
I know I have one that is not done yet that I'm kind of like, and I don't know if I would consider this anime actually. Let me ask you, what like have you seen and what did you think of Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix?
I don't. Blue Eye Samurai.
Yeah, and would you
Don't think I
consider
saw
it
that
an
one.
anime if you've seen it? You haven't seen it? It's
I
about the
don't think
girl
I
that
have.
is the samurai that has blue eyes. If you like, that's all I have to say for you to remember it. If you don't,
No, I don't think
okay,
I've got
watch
it.
it.
No.
I would love for you to watch it so we can talk about it maybe next time. Because it's like I thought it was good. Like I thought it was really
Mhm.
good, but it's not ended. It is Netflix, which is worrying, but it's an original idea. So it's not like it's based on something that's like, oh, well, this manga is not finished yet. So it's like,
Right.
what's going to happen to it? I think that if there's enough demand and people who watch it, they will definitely make a series to or a conclusion to it.
Right.
But I liked it. I thought it was a good story. I thought it was really interesting. The animation was pretty cool.
Ah,
Like
I
it was
found the name of
weird.
the one that I because I looked up my Netflix here. The
Okay.
Unwanted Undead Adventurer. This is a new one. It's not done yet, but I actually enjoyed it.
Okay.
That was pretty good. Um, Also, let's see what else was I watching. Yeah, that'll conclude there along with Pluto. So I think we'll go with those for now. There's some other stuff I'm watching that's not done yet, and I don't want to speak on it and say I like it yet because
Yeah.
I'm not finished with what's out. Yeah.
I feel you. I
I'm
haven't
cautious. I'm cautious, especially with your stream, Nina. I am extra cautious with you because I respect you, and I don't want to put you on something that is not done yet or that I haven't vetted fully. I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. I may love it or I may hate it. Depends on
Yeah,
where it goes.
this is like the blue-eyed samurai is weird, man, because it's 3D CGI animated and not animation for 3D, but I'm 2D over 3D any day. I'm the same way. So the animation I couldn't quite get into, especially the character animation, but I
I don't like
love
the
the
3D
action.
style. Yeah, I don't like the 3D stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've gone into it before. Like, for example, Appleseed was one that did, 3D animation, but I love the story so much that I kept watching and I continued it. So I have made exceptions for 3D stuff before. So Blue Eyed Samurai is one that I kind of would make an exception for because I thought the story was really good. So that like I wouldn't mind hearing what you thought of it if you happen to watch
If
it.
at some point I watch it, I will let you know.
Yeah, you let me know. And then also a Rumble Ramp Cocktail here for $2 says, consider the saga of Tanya the Evil.
I have watched
Tanya the
all of it.
Evil. How is that?
It is funny. It is good. If you're like a history buff, it's like both interesting and also frustrating because it's like a merger of World War I and World War II, but also with like with with waifus and the waifu is on the quote unquote naughty side. But it's a good story. And I do enjoy it. So I will recommend it for those that like a kind of futuristic magical waifu in World War I. It's kind of interesting. So
Well, Cocktail, I mean, that sounded interesting until the second part of your super chat or your Rumble rant, which says season one was so good. I bought all the manga. There's a movie too, and season two is coming
yeah, so it's not
eventually.
done yet in terms of the seasons. So that's the problem. That's why I wouldn't recommend
Yeah.
that to Nina, but I do like it.
Yeah, I do. Thank you though. Thank you. Well, if it turns out well, you guys let me
Also,
know.
people in the chat are mentioning it, so I got to mention it because I agree with them. Shangri-La Frontier is awesome and great. It is not done, but I do like it a lot. So I will just say I've watched it live on Rumble with the first two episodes. I actually watched with Brandon, so like that is a good anime. I would recommend it once it finishes, especially. So we'll see it when it gets there.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me about that one because the Shangri-La reminded me of this other anime that I like the name because they talk about Shangri-La all the time in the anime.
Yes.
So it reminded me of this anime I used to watch, which is completed. It's full, it's done, and it's amazing. It's called
Mhm.
No Wayne. Have you ever watched that before?
I've heard of it. I have not watched it.
Oh my god, it's so good. I think it's only like about 26 episodes. It's like old school anime, like 26 up 24 to 26 episodes. Completed series. Really good. Just very like alternate reality stuff, time, dimensions, time travel. Really, really cool. And they do have this like Shangri-La thing going on in here. I see Grim likes it. Wayne's great.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
And I
definitely
see
something I
someone's
recommend.
mentioning in the chat Spice and Wolf. I know they're redoing it. They're doing like a remake of Spice and Wolf, but they didn't really finish the first one. So it'd be interesting to see what they do here with the kind of remake of Spice and Wolf. Hopefully, it has a more clean conclusion because there is like the manga goes further and the original anime didn't go all the way. So hopefully, they can kind of wrap with this new anime and kind of pull it all together and conclude the story. So Spice and Wolf is a good one. I do like it a lot. It's
I've
actually
never seen it. Like, what is it?
so
Spice and Wolf.
it's actually it's actually when I say this, it's going to sound boring, but it's not. It's actually like an economics anime or like a
Mhm.
trading anime, like how like a merchant's life anime. I know you're like
Okay.
laughing right now. Like this like sounds like the least interesting thing ever. But like it's the relationship between a merchant and this wolf girl, who is the harvest god of this village, right? So
Okay.
she's like the harvest god of this village is in the form of a wolf, right? And she's traveling around with this merchant and they have to sell stuff and make money and go around. So it's actually it's actually very cute.
Yeah,
Um,
see, it's so funny that you say that because, like, yes, I'm laughing, but the reason I'm laughing is because anime has to like tends to have like some of the
specific,
best, absolute, amazing stories based on absolutely the most ridiculously boring
yes,
topic that you could possibly
yes,
think of. For example, like there's this anime that I love, and it's like a very limited run anime. It's called Read or Die, and it's about this girl
yes.
who likes to read books. I know that sounds really fucking retarded. But it's really good, and it's actually about her becoming a superhero that, like, has to do with books, and if you're a reader, you would love this anime because it's about somebody who reads, and so it's just, like so for me, it doesn't surprise me when you say, like, it's about the most boring topic ever,
But
but it's so
look at,
great.
and I agree with like Skull Leader. Like you got like ones that are like reincarnated as a slime is basically a town builder. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of these are. If you look at what they are, they're like
Mhm.
very basic concepts where they build that out into an anime, right? And
Mhm.
then it's really fascinating. That's what I love about anime is it can do these weird things, which makes it so depressing about Hollywood because they can't do anything. Like you just pick a thing, right?
Mhm.
Like anime is like reincarnated as a flower, and they can make that into a good anime, right?
Yeah.
Like they can
Yeah.
legitimately make that into a good
Yeah.
anime. That's how good they are at writing.
Yeah.
Versus Hollywood, which you give them a Star War and they can't even write that. You know, it's like the exact
Yeah.
opposite. What should be a layup, they miss. Like, and
Totally.
meanwhile, Japan is autistically calculating the moon landing and fucking nailing it. You know, like these guys are
Yeah.
like doing these weird little specific things, but they're killing it, and I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. You know,
Yeah, it's so wild. That's why, like, whenever we get into conversations where people are like, I don't like anime, I'm always like,
what anime have you
"What?"
seen?
Like, there's so many, and then, like, literally, like,
I
you
don't
can make
like them Pokemons. You know,
you can make anime out of literally anything, and usually they do a really good job. Again,
I'm
there's
seeing
things
a
that
lot
I
of
don't
men
like.
dressing up as Sailor Moon lately, and
I hate that Sailor Moon's become this thing now where people are like, "Oh, Sailor Moon ruined everyone," and it's like that's why they like have like whatever like
Oh,
it
what
was
Sailor Moon is
woke.
like Sailor Moon is the entry into woke culture and
Yeah,
feminism.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'm
I'm
like,
like,
get
I
the
hate to break
out
it
of
to you
here.
guys, but it wasn't Sailor Moon. Like,
It
you
was
know,
I mean it's always been like
yeah,
that. Woke
yeah.
culture didn't exist. That's the thing. Star
It
Wars Girl
was.
19 for $2 says, if you like comedies, I recommend Detroit Metal City.
I've
Which
seen that.
I have not seen that.
It's good. Check out.
Okay. Is that a movie? Probably is, right?
Yes,
I don't
it's a film.
Okay. That sounds interesting. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming by today, man. I know you almost didn't make it. It's
I'm
but it
here. I'm here. I'm here.
I
It's just
know, I'm
time
so
zones.
glad
Time
you
zones. I
did.
mean, we're both people in other countries. I mean, it's a different
Yeah.
life.
I know.
We're
I'm really glad I didn't cancel because I was going to cancel it and just like be like, okay, we just need to do it another time. But I was like, you
no,
know what?
no,
I'll just
keep
go
it.
live and talk to
Keep the
people
time.
about my anime. And it was really good. So I can't like I'm actually really surprised that you made it. So thank you for giving
Here.
me your
I'm here.
time.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you, even if it is 20 minutes late. I'm still
Oh
here, and
no,
I
I
appreciate having these
appreciate
streams
you.
and that you still do positive content. I want to think it's the thing I like about you. I mean, I think, like I said, and I've said this before, but I think it's worth saying 100 times. Right? A lot of people can create negative content. It's very easy to create negative content. It's very easy to go for the clicks. It's very easy to get in the hate streams. But I think the people I really appreciate are the people that are talking about positive content, at least as well, and are contributing some positivity to the space. I enjoy these streams because they're positive. I really don't like engaging in interviews or panels that are overly negative all the time with no
Mhm.
positive creative input. It's just not interesting to me anymore. So it's always good to come on with you and just talk about good stuff and share it with everybody else, because then people go on these streams like your stream and my stream, and they'll hear the anime and they'll go out and say thank you, I heard about it through your stream. And I hear people saying thank you to me all the time in the comments, and I'm sure they will here on this video as well.
Oh, thank you so much, legal mindset, Andrew. You're so sweet. Thank you, and I really appreciate that. And I really do. I mean, think the same thing the way you are saying. Like, we need to be putting our energy into more positive things, whether that's anime, video games, whatever.
Yeah,
Do something that makes you happy. There's nothing wrong with it. Even when people don't like certain things, if it makes you happy, go ahead and like watch it. Like, who cares?
sure. Yeah.
I like it doesn't matter. And lastly, I want to say this right here. I'm gonna have to write this down because I like Monster and Pluto. So what is
Master
this?
Keaton.
Master
I
Keaton.
have not seen
I'm
this. I
down.
have
What
not
is
seen
this?
this.
Let's,
Master
I'm
Keaton.
writing it. Master Keaton.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a finished series. I'm
It's a
definitely gonna look this up.
manga. Did they make an anime?
Oh,
Maybe. Did they make an
well, I
anime?
still like manga. I read manga sometimes.
Oh,
So,
there's an anime. There's an anime. There's an anime. Okay, good.
ooh, okay, all right, all right.
Yeah, yeah. Reading manga is
Yay!
more of a commitment.
Going to look for Pluto because of Nina. Yay! Yeah, definitely do it. It's so good. You will not be sorry. And again, Andrew, thank you. We got to do this again
Yes,
at some
absolutely.
point, okay?
Let me know. Let me know
Yeah,
anytime. Hit me
especially if
up.
you watch Blue Eye Samurai and like especially if we watch new animes
Blue
and we
Eye
want to talk
Samurai
about it.
review stream coming soon.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. I'm down anytime. Or we could do
All right.
like a Pluto like spoiler review stream or something like that if you wanted.
Yeah, we have to do that one too, because it's not fair to just talk about it with just on the surface level.
Yeah, I think we should do like a breakdown nitty
They get
gritty
like
like
2 or 3 more months to watch it, and then I'm sorry, like,
yeah, let's
because
do it.
because here's the thing. Look, for movies, I mean, first of all, people are spoiling movies like before the movie is even out
It's true.
nowadays.
Mhm.
Especially some of our peoples on the internet, will be out there reviewing stuff like, and it's not even hit the bricks yet, and they're already
Mhm.
flaming it or whatever else. So with Pluto, it's like you guys have had what, like 4 months now. So
Mhm.
giving you like 6 months to watch an anime, I think that's pretty reasonable. So
Yeah, I
we'll
think
be
so.
back in 2 or 3 months to
And it's
talk about
only 8 episodes. It's not that long. So you guys
it.
can
Yeah.
watch it. Let's do like a
Zero
couple.
excuse. I watched it in one evening, so get
I
over
know,
it.
same here. I watched it in like one go. It was like, 2 or 3 days tops because I had to like do other things, but it took it was basically like just a binge watch and it was freaking
Sure.
over. It was so good. So yeah, in a couple months, we're gonna definitely get together, do like a full review of that, and that should be fun. I'm excited about that. Excites me. So Andrew,
Yeah.
before you leave, plug your wares. Where can people find you next?
People can find me on my channel. I'll be streaming later. I may move it. I realized I probably put it a little too early for folks, so I may bump it another hour. But I'll be streaming in the AM EST. So for those that want to wake up tomorrow and hang out with me, I'll be streaming later today. So wait for that. Check that out. That will be quite good. And the people are here to pick up my trash.
Wow. All right. Thank you,
So
Andrew.
on that
Thank you,
note,
everyone. Yeah. Have a good one,
see you.
everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.